Hi BookTube, it's Gina. Happy Monday. Hope you are doing well. I had the day off today, and so I slept in. I've been sitting around reading. I've got three wonderful books going that I will share with you another time. What I want to talk about today is a book haul. I had a really fun book shopping weekend this weekend, and I wanted to share it with you. I did half price books, so I got a few used books, and then I went to Barnes and Noble and bought some new books. So I'm going to share them with you. I'm also been thinking, I saw a I can't even remember now where it was, but this has been kind of noodling in the back of my head for a while now. Um, I'm not sure if it was a meme or a tweet. I don't remember, but it was the gist of it was that reading is three distinct hobbies. The first of which is reading, the second of which is buying books, and the third of which is collecting. And I never really used to think of myself as a collector, which clearly now that I've got all these beautiful collections going on is no longer the case. I've always been a reader, but I also do love to buy books. I love the physicalness of the book. I love the beauty of books. And so as I go through these piles, I kind of was thinking in the terms of, is this supporting my hobby of reading, of buying, or of collecting? And of course, all three of those are very smooshy, right? They cross over, they're not distinct, but I do think that it's really interesting to think about because there are lots of people who read but who are not even remotely interested in collecting. They just buy books, they buy books on their Kindle, they buy books to read, and then they let them go. They sell them, they donate them, they get rid of them. Um, and I'm definitely a collector, so I've come to terms with that. So let's get started. I'm going to start out with the used books that I got at Half Price Books. The first two were these 99 centers. They are Ruth Rendell. The first is from Dune with Death, and the second is To Fear a Painted Devil. Look at those covers. Aren't those fantastic? And I saw the way I heard about Ruth Rendell was I saw Judi Dench reading a Ruth Rendell book on the series As Time Goes By, which is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. And she was lying in bed reading, and she had a Ruth Rendell book. Does anybody else do that? Like look and see what people are reading when they're on movies or TV? So I've read a couple of Ruth Rendell and really liked it, but not familiar with these two. So I saw them. They were these old paperbacks that I really liked. They were only 99 cents, so I grabbed them. Next, I found a copy of The Library Book by Susan Orlean, and I've got this one on my Kindle, but this just really seemed to lend itself well to being in a hard cover copy because it's all about libraries and books. And so this is going down on my Books About Books shelves here, which I showed recently. And I've read some of this already, but I'll probably just dip in and out of this as time goes by. And I don't know that I'm just going to sit down and read it from start to finish. And then lastly, and this falls into the collection category of my obsession, I found this old vintage copy of The Italian Girl by Iris Murdoch, and I've got a Iris Murdoch collection going of some of her hardbacks. I've got a bunch of her paperbacks also, and this is just beautiful. So I was very excited to find this. One of the books that I am reading right now is The Black Prince by Iris Murdoch, and I'm loving it. I can't remember if I've read that one before or not. I've owned it for a long time, but I have a feeling I haven't read that one because it does not sounding familiar to me at all. My next stack is the Barnes & Noble books that I bought yesterday, Saturday. And the first is along the same lines, this copy of The Sea by Iris Murdoch. Look at that. This is the vintage, not vintage, Penguin Classics edition. And I bought this because I planned to reread The Sea with Sandy at Ms. Reads a Lot's book club in February. Her book is The Sea. I do also own two, I gotta show you these. I think I've showed you these before, but I own this copy of The Sea, and I own this copy of The Sea. So I now have 3 copies of this, but this one is better for reading. These 2 vintage editions are not going to be great for reading, and this one is really going to be nice to read with the book club. So this is really for reading, although of course it will get added to my Iris Murdoch collection. And then this next book is pure collection, purely purchased because it is beautiful. There's a good chance I will never actually read this edition, which doesn't really make a lot of sense, but this is the Chiltern edition of Persuasion by Jane Austen. And these I've loved for a long time. I've never actually seen these Chiltern editions in a bookstore in the US before. I see some of the UK booktubers that I love so much browsing through their bookshops and seeing these editions all over the place, and it just makes me salivate. So when I saw this, I could not resist buying it. And I do own, let's see, I own a lot of Persuasion. I own this beautiful penguin cloth bound, and this old, I can't remember what this edition is. I love this one. This is the Pantheon Books edition. I own 2. I'm not going to pull these out, but these bottom 2 ones are both Persuasion. This might be my most owned book now. I own 5. I own 5 editions of Persuasion, and I just, it might be my favorite Jane Austen. And then next, I got some new releases. I bought The Sentence by Louise Erdrich. I've been wanting to read something by Louise Erdrich, and this book just sounded right up my alley. And so this was just a random, it's been sort of on my want to read list in the back of my head, and I saw it and I thought, yep, gonna buy that. And then lastly, these 2 books I saw in a couple of top 10 of 2021 lists, and they were Marissa at Blatantly Bookish, who I will link down below, and Katie at Books and Things. And both of these books were on their top 10 lists, and so I had to grab them. This is The Binding by Bridget Collins, and the blurb by Tracy Chevalier on the front is a rich Gothic entertainment that reminds us of the power of storytelling. And it sounded wonderful. The back says, young Emmett Farmer is working in the fields when a strange letter arrives, summoning him away from his family. He is to begin an apprenticeship as a bookbinder, a vocation that arouses fear, superstition, and prejudice among their small community, but one neither he nor his parents can afford to refuse. So this just sounded wonderful. And then lastly, I bought The Kingdoms by Natasha Pulley. And I read her first, or another book of hers, I'm not sure if it was her first book, The Watchmaker of Filigree Street, and I enjoyed it. I didn't love it, but I know Katie loved this book, and Marissa loved this book. So I'm going to give her a try and hope that I love this one as much as they did. I don't know much about it, but it says it's a genre-bending, time-twisting alternative history that asks whether it's worth changing the past to save the future, even if it costs you everyone you've loved. And the cover is just gorgeous. So I picked this one up, and hopefully I will get to these and they won't just land in my collection here and ignored. I think I'm going to try to read these this year. And then lastly, I also look at this big pile of books and think, I have no idea how much money I spend on books. I have no idea how many books I buy per year. So I've decided that I am going to start a spreadsheet and just keep track of how many books I buy, what I buy, when I buy, and how much they cost, so that at the end of the year I can sort of just see for my own curiosity what my book spending looks like. I'm not trying to cut back. I'm not trying to not buy any books. I'm just curious as to what my book buying habits look like. This might not be the best year to start now that I have a channel. I probably am buying a few more books than I have bought in the past, but I've always bought a lot of books. And when it comes back to the reading versus collecting books, I do feel like there is a place in my spending and in my budget to buy some books that I know eventually are going to get kind of rotated out of the collection, and that is totally fine with me. At some point, I will probably talk about books and consumerism, because I do think it's really interesting to think about the money that we spend on books, and I'm trying to formulate my thoughts a little bit on that, because I think it's a really interesting topic. So if you have any thoughts on books and consumerism, I'd love to hear your comments on that below. And also, if you are a collector, if you've bought anything interesting for your collection recently, I would love to hear. And I will talk to you later. Bye.